Welcome, friends, to another episode of Beyond Chronic Burnout, where we flourish forward. Today's episode is especially close to my heart as it marks the beginning of Whittington Wellbeing's Community and Connection series for the month of October. And let me tell you why this theme is so vital right now. October holds profound significance as it's a month dedicated to several awareness campaigns that speak to the struggles so many of us face in silence. Disability employment, invisible disabilities, mental health, breast cancer, ADHD, domestic violence, national bullying prevention, and LGBTQ History Month. All of these observances remind us of the countless ways people in our world have suffered, been silenced, or isolated due to illness, difference, or circumstance. Whittington Wellbeing, we recognize that the antidote to this kind of isolation is one of the most powerful elements of well-being, community, and connection. We've chosen this theme because when you've suffered, when you've been made to feel different or alone, what you need most is to feel seen, heard, understood, and most importantly, to know that you belong. You are worthy just as you are, and you are loved. Community isn't just a feel-good buzzword. It saves lives. It saved mine. And that's why we're focusing this month on how we can all cultivate authentic relationships that support our well-being and healing journeys. Today's guest, Rasie Bamigbade, is the perfect voice to open this conversation. Today's guest, Rasie, is the perfect voice to open this conversation. Rasie is not only an Amazon best-selling author, a leadership and book coach, and a speaker, she's also someone who has walked the difficult path of healing from trauma. In today's episode, we'll be diving into Rasie's upcoming memoir, Be Not Alone, The Words I Longed For, where she bravely shares her personal experiences with trauma and healing and the role that community played in her transformation. If you've ever felt alone in your journey or have longed for a space where you feel supported, this episode is for you. We'll discuss the power of writing, the importance of finding a supportive community, and Rasie's mission to help others build lives of purpose and connection. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's talk about what it means to heal in community and why connection is at the core of our well-being. Stay tuned until the end for some special announcements about how you can join us this October in community and connection.
Wake up from your sleep now, tired days are gone. Carol Jean will show you how to find where you belong. Flourish forward every day, beyond burnout, light the way. Joy and power start to shine, optimum state, life is fine. Leave the stress and doubts behind, listen close and you will find, in your heart and in your mind, your best life to find. Flourish forward every day, beyond burnout, light the way. Joy and power start to shine, optimum state, life is fine.
Rasie, welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you are here today because you bring something to this conversation that touches and speaks to my heart so deeply with your new book coming out, Be Not Alone, The Words I Longed For. Oh, I'm just still getting chills just saying it out loud. I cannot wait because you have such a beautiful story. You've written 2 other books. This is your 3rd book, but within this one, this is really the memoir. This is your story. And I would love for you to share with everyone sort of the inspiration for the title of this book, Be Not Alone, The Words I Longed For, and give us a bit of a teaser, a taste of what this story is.
Yeah, for sure. Carol, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's really awesome that we get to do this because we've had so many conversations in the back end, back and forth for probably a year and a bit. So thank you for this. So Be Not Alone, the title was inspired by like these as I was writing my memoir. So it's actually going to be in series. It would take a lot, like I was sharing with you earlier, it'll take a lot of therapy sessions to write a whole memoir of my whole life up to now. So I was like, I got to break it down. Let's do the first 13 years and then go from there. And it's about, like I share about like the beautiful memories at the start of my childhood. And then I started to experience different traumas in different forms. Like it's the moment when I thought, oh, okay, that was it. We're going to chill now. And then there's another, and then there's another, and working through that. So the Be Not Alone, because I suffered in silence with these emotions that were happening. I don't want to say to me at that time, it was happening to me. But now that I know better and going through my healing process, it was happening for me. And I didn't need to do that alone. And I suffered alone for so long until I was like, you know what? I'm going to get help. Like, I cannot live like this for another minute of my life, right? So I really share that. And it's, as you read in the book, like one of the feedback I've gotten from advanced readers, it feels as if I'm on the couch with you and having a conversation and having a cup of tea or beverage or whatever that looks like. But it's really the biggest message is that we're not our trauma, but if we don't do something about it, we become our trauma.
Rasie, what did that mean to you to have experienced maybe becoming your trauma and then realizing, oh, I have to face this and really process through this so that I'm free of it. Or
So
move beyond or through.
Yeah, like I have something that there was like different triggers that I experienced. And it happened on repeat before I actually identified it through therapy that these are triggers. And it's going to continue to happen until I do something about it. So an experience would be with loud sounds. So whenever I went to watch the fireworks, I would be very anxious, like just completely on edge and not comfortable. And I suffered with this like from within, like even when I'd go like in high school, go with like a bunch of like my friends to the beach and watching the fireworks, and then it's over and I'm just like feeling this anxiety inside, and I'm like, oh, this is not normal. Maybe I'm the only person experiencing this. And those are times like I wish I kind of shared about it. At the same time, I have no regrets because that's how I was supposed to experience it up to, starting the healing journey. And another part as well is vacuuming. I actually did not enjoy vacuuming at all. And it's that loud sound. Like I don't enjoy, because when you're cleaning, you're supposed to feel good, right? Like you're like, oh, I look so awesome.
Are you?
Vacuuming.
Really?
Yeah.
You have to put a tiara on to do that.
Yeah. Put some loud music on, and just like bounce through it as you're vacuuming. But I always like did not like that loud sound. And then also working at McDonald's, there's a sound that goes off when a car arrives in the drive-thru. I remember having like dreams, like kind of being in a nightmare, and this sound will show up. So anything that was loud and kind of makes me feel jumpy was a big trigger. It got me super anxious. So that's just one example of something that moved me to get some help and go through therapy sessions with my counselor. And another thing that happened, my first husband passed away in 2018. And I was going to do what I've always done, is suppress those emotions. But that was really big. It's very, very, very significantly big that I could not suppress that. And what happened is I would get really annoyed when I was around people, certain comments that people will make, but it's not a reflection. It's not about them at all. It's what's happening within me. So I needed to go get help and really unpack that. And I call it like peeling one layer after another. And it's a lifelong process because there's always more that we can discover. So from doing that, going through therapy for that grief and having to actually go through therapy because of like my first trauma from my childhood, right? Like going through civil war in Sierra Leone. That was what I started to unpack in my therapy session. And I'm still shocked about that. Like up to today, I was like, I went in for, grief. I just lost my best friend and love of my life. And now I need, like, how do I deal with this? Right. So I think, and then I went to therapy for something else and then discovering we got to go to the roots. And that's something that also inspired me to write my memoir is I needed to revisit all these different things that I've experienced and talk about it with my counselor through my therapy sessions. Also talk about it with my family of like, what would their experience like? And these were uncomfortable conversations. And also speaking with my circle, like this is what I'm experiencing as I'm writing one chapter after another. It was an absolutely transformative process. And I really look forward to writing the next series.
Oh, there's so much in this. I mean, this is just, oh, my heart can just, oh, I feel this. And I think there's so many of us that we start with one place and we think, okay, this is the really big, hairy, scary thing happening. And then we go to have a conversation around this, or we start to look at it, right? And we really start to just sit with it. And then we discover there's all of these things that we're leading, with to where we are or how we're experiencing the moment. And it can be a lot to process, especially if you're trying to do it on your own. I mean, the wisdom and the internal wisdom that you had to go outside to seek other guidance and support through this that is just one of the biggest and bravest, like most courageous things, because that's so vulnerable.
Yeah. It can be. Yeah.
As you were going through the point of where you were like, okay, I showed up for grief because I just lost my best friend and the love of my life. But now I'm having to look back to my childhood in civil war in Sierra Leone, and I'm seeing how all of this is. How did you start to piece this together? I mean, what was showing up from back then in your present experience in grief?
It was very frustrating at first because I was confused. I'm like, because the one thing, and like people listening right now can probably be able to relate to this, is that we get into this space where it's like, I want to get better right now, right? It's because
I want it yesterday.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, exactly. And because it hurts so much and you're like, I don't want to carry this anymore. And you go to bed and you're sleeping and you're like, oh, I wish I can just keep sleeping. To be honest, like these are thoughts that go through my mind. And then I wake up and for like a gist of a second, I'm like, oh, I'm so happy. This is like good. And then all the memories come back, like he's gone. And the hardest part for me is like my first therapy session that I went to where, we started to talk about the war. I just remember crying, Carol, for probably 30 minutes. Like that cry that you can't get any words out. And up to this day, I'm so grateful for my counselor at that time. She sat there just holding space, not saying anything, and just allowing me to cry because I needed to cry. I don't think I had cried, for going through a civil war as a child, right? I was about 7 years old. I never actually expressed what it felt like to see what I saw, to feel what I felt, and the fears that I was like holding in, and I never got to talk about it. So it was just bottled up, like, coming up in different forms, which we can talk about after. And for me to have that space to just cry and not be judged and just cry, because that's what release I needed to get out. And I still remember that was the first night I felt I slept better. Like I actually slept through the night after that session.
It's it is still, it never ceases to delight and amaze me, the power that our nervous systems, our bodies hold for healing
Mhm, mhm.
when we allow it to do what it is designed naturally to do, but our brain tries to control and
Yep,
suppress.
yep, yep. Push it down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How did you begin to, and I guess I should ask more of, how did you begin to create community for yourself in this time for you?
Mm. So and this is the thing, it's like I've always created community around me, and I've been very fortunate to work with companies and organizations where it's very community oriented. It's We're constantly giving back to the community and taking care of the community. So I've always had that skill and that experience and really enjoy it. So when it came like for my with my grief, like in my close circle of friends, like no one had experienced grief at that depth, at that um the the significance of it. And I don't want to downplay like any other grief that people are experiencing, but there wasn't someone I could relate to that was really close, that I chatted with all the time and having constant conversation. We're always hanging out. And so the people who are like outside of my close circle, who I knew I got closer with, right? Um, there were a couple girlfriends I haven't chat in a while, and actually one of them who I'd never met up with to have like a coffee and stuff. We became really close, and I'm very grateful for her. And then one of my friends in my close circle connected me with someone on Instagram, and she was actually helping other widows through, just by holding space and sharing her story. Quite powerful. And then with that experience, I was like, okay, I can go and find people who are gonna be able to hold space for me, who can relate to what I'm going through, who I can talk to and not feel judged. They're not gonna tell me to stop crying. They're not gonna tell me that, he wouldn't want you to be crying right now, or it's too early to start dating, or why don't you start dating right away? And I just wanted someone who will just hold space and just let me be, let me heal on my own terms. Like that's the title of my second book. And so as I'm navigating through that, the biggest place, the one of the significant places, so social media helped me out a lot. I there was a conference, it's called Young Widows. I'm forgetting the actual name of the company. So during COVID, it was like about 300 widows across America. Like I'm still like the number just blows me away, and that's just 300 who knew about the conference, came together. And there were, different widows who shared, did keynotes and share about their experience. They did round circles for people to share what's their coping mechanisms. I still remember sharing about my plants. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get more plants and take care of them. This is the time, and feel really connected with my plants. I still have one of my bamboos since then. And so from there, I just didn't stop. And then, as 6 years later now, like since my first husband passed away, I have been able to hold space for other widows through their experience. It is a ripple effect. Like when you've experienced like that space being held for you, non-judgmental. It's love and compassion. It's allowing you to be and unfold what needs to happen for you. You learn, okay, this is how I can hold space for other people. Let them know that it's okay. Whatever they're going through, it is normal. It is okay. Like, it's what they're meant to experience right now. And the one thing I would say is, one message I got from all the widows where I connected with is like, don't stay where you are. Continue to move forward, right? And it doesn't mean that you're forgetting your loved one, but you are what's the word? You're the legacy, right? You are putting more love out into the world. For me, it's like I walk in everything that I do. It's like surrounded by love, right? And that intention. So yeah, I hope I answered your question. I'm such a
You
storyteller. I can keep
I
going on
know,
and
and I love it.
passionate.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. Oh my gosh. So, Rasie, when you're building community, you gave people some really great tips and insights on like where to start. Go outside of your immediate circles, start to look for the people that are having similar experience or had similar experiences, right? Someone is maybe just a step or two ahead of you. Find organizations or groups that speak to where you are and also where you want to go at the same time. And I love that. But I think also one of the most beautiful things I would love to hear more about, because you are such a glorious storyteller, and this is just the gift of zone of genius that is you. I would love to hear more about the writing journey and how these last 3 books, especially this memoir, this last and most current book that you've written, Be Not Alone, how has that transformed you, or maybe even your awareness? How has it impacted you? Because I know that you carry this into the work that you do in the world
Mhm.
as an author and as a book and writing coach for
Yeah.
other people to
Mhm.
take their stories and bring them into the world. How did
Mhm.
writing become part of your life? Is it something you've been doing since childhood? Is this something you picked up one day? How did this happen? And how has it transformed your journey today?
It's interesting. I'm trying to remember. I was probably, oh man, I can remember the age, but I was in Sierra Leone when I started journaling about like my day, about experiences from like spending time with family members. And then I also wrote in my journal or diary, we call it a diary, and it's kind of like a calendar, but it's not. And writing songs. So I'll actually, like back in like with the cassettes and the tape, right? You
Oh,
press
yeah.
play and then you pause it and then you write the lyrics down and then I sing with the lyrics like after. So I did stuff like that. And then the other thing I did as well is record people's date of birth. So I'd actually put that in my journal. And then the other thing as well, it's like moments, so significant moments. So maybe what would I give an example of? Let's say we had a family member come to visit. Like, what is this something that I remember about them? Maybe it's like they give me a hug and they squeezed me in and it felt really nice. Or maybe it's like my favorite cousin staying over for like 2 nights and then they're like, no, I'm gonna stay over for another third night, and I really enjoyed that. So just like those little moments, that's kind of like how it started. And then in high school out here in Vancouver, Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, it was the first time it was like writing essays in school. So I didn't enjoy the research part of writing. So they'll give us like either it's like a book, go read a book, and then they have these questions that we need to respond to. I enjoy the reading part, but like with writing about what I've read, I didn't really enjoy that. But when it was anything that has to do with like creative writing, right? Like let me go into my creativity flow, let me go into my element and tap into all those different ideas. I always got A+ on it. Like I excelled at it. And that was an indicator for me that I really love creative writing. And then fast forward, so actually when I was 13, I aspired to be a writer, but my self-limiting beliefs took over, and that aspiration was put on hold. And this is something that I advocate for with writers, is those self-limiting beliefs can come up. But again, I'm going to come back to that community. We can tap into community. Like, I connected with 30 plus authors. Like, when I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. What is something that has worked for me in the past? And it's like tapping into my community, connecting with people who have already done this. And I learned a lot about the process. Like, I'm like, okay, I can totally do this. And I wrote and published my first book in 60 days. And for me, it wasn't about the speed. Like, it's great. I did it in 60 days. I did it earlier than when I anticipated to do it. But it's the discipline. I was very clear on, this is what I'm going to write about. This is why I'm writing it. And then this is who I've connected with. I've told these other authors that I'm going to write my book. I'm going to hold to that word that I've said, right? Like, that promise that I've made to myself and to other people who are expecting my book. And then also with the clarity, right? There's this message that I need people to receive. These things that I've learned in my leadership journey that I needed to put in a book so that people have access to it whenever they want, right? It's not just by myself. And it was really important that I get this message out. There's a need. And then even after Leading Your Truth was published, the evidence was even up to today. Like, I'll get a message from people like, hey, this is how your book has helped me. This is what role I'm going to head into because I've read your book. And some people refer to it as a handbook. So I think it's always meant for me to write. It's just I wasn't ready to tap into it until I did stuff up here and did stuff in here to really start that journey. And as I started, I fell in love with it. And writing my second book and then becoming a book coach, and I've helped many writers become authors. And I'm constantly looking for different ways to support more writers to make the process look less intimidating. What I needed when I had those self-limiting beliefs. So that's what I tap into when I write, content. It's, you can do it, right? It's like, you got to take one action after another to make that impossible become possible.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And I love that you started writing with songs. Oh man. I started when I was really young writing poetry and songs. And I think it's so interesting because the more people I talk to, who, when we kind of start talking about, well, when did you start writing, and what kind of things did you write? It was usually songs, poetry, or sort of these journals, of these accountings of my experiences that were these emotional sort of creative pursuits. And I think then we get to be adults, and
Yeah.
somehow we get these things that go on in the head and our brain, and we're like, okay, I have to be all professional, and I have to have this layout, and I have to fill in these things, and these are the boxes I have to tick, and this is how I'm supposed to write. And we sort of shut off that beautiful part that's such like this natural piece that comes up as writers. So what I know so many people are listening and watching on the other side going, well, how can I work with you? What do you teach? How do I start? I've always wanted to write a book, or I feel like I too have had something that I want to put in a book because I want it to become a guide or a handbook for someone else to navigate something that I have learned or been through in my life to make it easier for them. Where do they start? How do they do this? And how do they connect with you, the amazing book coach, so that you are?
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. One thing that I usually, whenever someone is like, I want to write a book, how can you support me? The first thing I ask is, what is that? So there's the question of why, right? I think for me, that my tagline is tell your story. So the why, it needs to be about you first, like what is going to happen for you when you tell this story, and what is going to happen for your reader when you gift it to them, right? I call it a gift because it is, because it's like my personal story as a writer, and I've experienced what I need to experience. And I have some clients who have written and they're like, no, I don't want to publish. I've had the transformation that I needed. I've had the healing that I needed, and I don't feel ready to put it out in the world yet. And that's their decision, right? And so there's that part with the why. And then the other part is, if you were to stand at the top of a mountain, you have your audience right in front of you who need to hear your message. What is that one thing or that one sentence that you'll share with them right now? There's a need and there's urgency with you sharing this message. So that's where to start with, right? In terms of that idea, because we all have many different ideas. Like, I know I have like 10 books in me, but I'm just gonna start with 5. I was like, I'm just gonna write 5 first. And
We will talk about the list of 9 that I have, and I'm working on
yeah.
the second one right now.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I support, like, I work with a team. So I have an editor on my team, a book designer, a formatting support team. And so what we do is we help any writer from idea to publishing and everything in between. So there's some clients who, like, I have no idea what I want to write about. We work through a process where we help you solidify this is the idea you need to write, because it's aligned with the future, with what you want. It's aligned with your goals, your why, your values, stuff like that. And then there's clients who are like, I've already written, like, I just need help with publishing it. So I self-assist in publishing on Amazon. And where there's some clients who we've worked through, they have their manuscript, they have their cover, everything's ready to go. And they're like, I actually want somebody else to do it. So this is where I connect them with people in my community, other publishers who I've interacted with and build relationship with. And then after, so there's that one-on-one option. And then I'm also launching a group book coaching program this fall. And the reason why I'm launching that is a lot of the feedback is that affordability, right? It is more expensive to do one-on-one. And there's also that isolation aspect, right? Because writing can be isolating, especially when you write in a book. Because some people are like, I don't even know what I'm going to finish. I don't even know if I'm going to put it out there. I don't want to talk about it. And then now you're doing this all in silence. So that's where I'm bringing a group together so that you can kind of learn from each other and then have that emotional support.
Look at you walking the talk of community.
And, yeah, and affordable as well, right?
Yeah.
And my goal as well is to bring in also experts, so editors, so they can ask questions about the process. These are things that I wanted when I was writing my first book. I wanted like one-on-one with my editor, right? I wanted to talk to who's doing my design. Like, I want that direct contact. And I think it's so important because the way you as a writer is gonna share like what is important to you, it's different from how your coach is gonna say it. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so those are the 2 different options, and it's absolutely an honor and pleasure doing this work.
Oh my gosh. I mean, what a fabulous resource and suite of resources that you offer. Because as I'm thinking back to like when I wrote the first book, and I'm going, oh my gosh, the isolation part is so real. And
Mhm,
I was reaching out to create sort of a community for myself
mhm.
through the process. And what was hilarious, and I look back on it, I really laugh now because like now I just approach writing the second one has been totally different than the first one, right? And you learn as you go.
Yes.
But with the first one, it was like I had written this outline and then it had changed and it had evolved like for about 2 years. And
Mm.
then I had started writing and I had all of the notes and I had like the different chapters and all the things sectioned out and, part 1, part 2. And I got to about 30 days before I needed to have my final draft finished for editing. And I just went, I hate this. This is not what I want to say. This is not aligned. This is just not flowing. I feel like it is just lost. And do you know what I did? I hit delete. I just got rid of it. It was just too much noise. It just wasn't it. And I sat down with this just because I had been talking to other people, because community had helped bring such clarity. And I sat down,
Mhm.
and in 3 days, I wrote a 250 something page book, start to finish.
Wow.
I didn't sleep much for 2 nights, but that was okay. I was in the focus flow zone, right? And I
Mhm.
got to the end of the 3rd day, and I wrote that last chapter, and there was just this feeling. There was this resonance. This was it.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
now, of course, you go back and you reread months later, and you're like, "Man, I would change this. I would do this," but that's
Oh,
making
yeah.
decisions.
Always, always. It doesn't matter. It's like, it could be top bestseller. You still got stuff that you're like, "I wanna change that."
Right. I mean, and I look back on it now, and I'm like, well, and I'm from the South, so I was like, bless my heart. I was doing the best I could. I was by myself. I was reading all the how-tos. I was watching the videos on YouTube. I was
Yeah.
reading, all the experts saying this is how you do it. And I was trying to do it. I'd gone to scribe school and all
Mm.
this kind of stuff.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Rusty, where were you?
Yeah. I
And
was
so
thinking
if
the
you
same. It's like, where am I when I needed me?
I know, right? I think I need it too. But what's so beautiful is that if you're listening today, if you have heard the incredible story and journey and the why, that important why behind why my guest Rasie does what she does today, and her beautiful book coaching programs, her different features and offers. And if you have had this idea, this place in your heart that is just telling you, I have a book inside, there is something, a story, a message that I want to get out into the world, please learn from me. Do not be in isolation. Do it by yourself. Please reach out to this incredible, glorious, beautiful, wonderful woman and get some help.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I
it.
have all of the great things down in the show notes where you can get all of her incredible books, 1, 2, and 3. The newest one, Be Not Alone. Please go get The Words I Longed For. Because that, oh man, I'm telling you, every time I say it, I get the tingles. It is just so beautiful. I mean, I cannot wait to read it. Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you. Thank you.
Please, please, please. So when we're recording this, y'all, it is not yet published. So I'm over here just patiently
Yeah.
waiting for this to come out because Rusty said, I'm waiting for the book because I want to put my hand on the actual book
Yes.
before anything happens.
Yeah.
I love that. We're gonna have to do a whole nother episode on like
Right?
writer rituals.
I'm just holding it, and you know the feels. It's like, oh, I can't wait. I'm just, yeah, patiently.
It is.
I'm patient. I'm patient.
There you go. Well,
Mm.
congratulations on all your phenomenal success, on
Thank
all
you.
these incredible books, but mainly thank you for the work and the service that you do in the world to help unlock and to bring these beautiful stories from all of these glorious sparks of light in the world into writing and into a book where other people can also share in that journey. Hey, Beyond Chronic Burnout listeners. This October, we're focusing on something that's at the heart of living without burnout: community and connection. Whether you're a leader, neurodivergent, or simply trying to navigate the challenges of modern life, we have a full month of episodes packed with actionable strategies, inspiring conversations, and expert advice to help you combat burnout and stress through deeper, more meaningful connections. You'll hear from guests who share personal stories of overcoming burnout, insights on building neuro-inclusive workspaces, and tips for fostering emotional agility and resilience. We'll talk about the power of storytelling, how to create supportive environments, and the importance of setting boundaries and trusting yourself, all essential for both well-being and leadership. And if you haven't yet, grab our free daily stress relief tracker for leaders and managers to help you manage stress, support your team, and build a healthier work environment. This tool is available all month long, so don't miss out. Download it from our show notes or visit whittingtonwellbeing.com. Join us on this journey to reclaim your energy, foster deeper connections, and thrive beyond burnout.
Thanks for being here. It's been quite a ride. Energy mastery, let's turn the tide. Top shelf guests, dropping wisdom bombs. Join us next week where the energy's strong. Beyond Chronic.